Alright, so I'm going to keep this fairly simple for colors. We've got white, primary yellow, napthol red, and carbon black. These are all golden fluid acrylics. And I've got a large lunar blender, this one's called, 1-inch brush, like a 1-inch filbert brush. I'm going to take some white right under the sun. I want there to be white right through here. Spread that around. Now, I'm not super happy with the way I've done these ridges, so we'll probably cover up some of that. But we're going to start with some yellow and just pick up some yellow on the brush. And on either side of that, so it'll be about right there and about right there. I'm going to add some yellow back and forth. I'm going to try to stay directly underneath that sun. Might have gone too far in on this side. Okay, now what we're going to do, we're going to grab some black, some red, and some yellow, kind of a brownish color, pretty dark. We're going to go underneath these trees. Where do we want our tree line to actually be? I don't think I want them to come down that far, so I'm going to go somewhere right in there. Alright, and on this side, yeah, we'll go somewhere right in there as well. Okay. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take some of that color and we're going to add more black to it. We're going to add some red as well. And this kind of brush, you don't have to use this type of brush, but anything with a good nice flat edge. I'm using a larger brush just so I can work faster, but a flat brush would work. So now, this is the reflection in the water, and our tree line starts right there at the top of that brownish red color. Okay, so that's going to start right there. Now our tree line, I'm going to mix some yellow and maybe more yellow into that black. And some more black. So we're going to get just kind of an off black color, and it's got some yellow, a little bit of red, just kind of a warm color. Yeah, we got some drip in there. That's all right. So now we're going to basically try to add some trees here. Basically just going to block in where we want this to be. And same with the side, I just want to adjust some of these. Maybe this one will be a little taller. Kind of come up like that. This is not a true black, kind of an off black. We don't want things to be that dark. Kind of going over what we had. I'll stand back, take a look. It's looking pretty good. I think what we can do, let's wash the brush. Get rid of this big old brush, the paint on the big old brush. We're going to keep the brush. I'm just going to dab it out on my napkin over here, get most of that moisture out. I'm going to grab some red, some yellow. There's some black in there, but not a lot. I'm going to go right on the edge. Same on this side. Just dragging that orange through. Now any of these white areas we're going to want covered up with this reddish color. We can add black over the top. Just cover up most of that white down here with this orange. And we'll just kind of go all the way up here. I'm not sure how red I want this area to be up top here. We'll just go ahead and start with this. Okay, it's looking pretty good. We're going to need to brighten that, but for now, that'll work. So now I'm going to go back with some white. Get some of that darker gray with some little bit of warmth to it. I'm going to add some ripples down low. Now none of this has to be permanent. This is just getting the idea of what we want. Blocking in some larger black areas. Got some of that gray on our brush still. Maybe we can get away with something darker right through here. Just give it a try. It just gets too light. As we darken everything else. Okay, that's not bad. I like it. We're going to let this all dry. And in fact, I suppose we need to cover up some of that bottom part yet. Let's just do that real quick. There's some white area down there I want to get covered before I let things dry. So we'll just grab some more yellow and red. Add some more gray. This is just not as vibrant down low here. We're just going to go ahead. This is pretty thin, so it's not covering as well, so it's a little bit lighter. That'll be good. For up in the sun area right here, just add a small bit of reflection to this area here. We'll go down, we'll make these spots a little bit bigger. Okay, just covering that white. Got a pretty good tone of color here. This will give us a lot to think about, but we're going to let things dry, and then we'll come back and add another layer. All right, so we've let this dry, and the next thing we're going to work on is reducing some of this red. I know it's a little bit strong, but it's a good undercoat because we probably will need some of that. Let's get started though. Let's take some white, and we'll take some yellow. I'm just going to start to buff the edges of these areas here. And we're going to need, I'm going to get a dry brush. This is just a flat brush, 1/4 inch. I'm going to grab some white. We're going to make sure that we're directly under that sun. I think we were off a tiny bit. We could just bring it over to the left more. some white. And we might have to work on that a little more, but good start. Okay. So what I'm going to do is just get a touch of red in there. So I've got some orange being mixed. We're going to try to start matching some of the colors that are in the sky. We're going to get very picky with a lot of this area, but yet water can be any way we want it to be. So don't get too concerned. Just try to get the right color and put it somewhat in the right place. It doesn't have to be in the perfect place. We just want to get the right color near the right place. So I'm going to grab some more red and yellow. I'm going to start to think about maybe some black. We're going to start to think about the color we have way up high in the sky. And we're going to start to match some of that color down low here. Just put chunks of it here and there. Just little spots. Doesn't have to be perfect at this point. We just want to get it closer to the finished product. I'll grab some red and some yellow, kind of get that brown color. Add some white, get that a little more gray. I'm thinking about what might be really high up in the sky. Maybe we can't even see at this point. That'll kind of be the foreground. Grab some more black. Okay, so I have to apologize real quick. I had an interruption and we had to stop the video, and I forgot to turn it back on when I started adding some of these highlights here. So I'm just going to show you exactly what I've been doing. Just a couple minutes of work here. And I had white, a little bit of yellow, and some red. Just kind of match that color in the sky. So we want a light yellow, maybe a touch of orange. We're going to start to just match those colors. And I've been using the smaller double thick filbert, just a smaller brush, small flat brush would work. And I'm just dragging this color over the top. And we want to just keep trying to match the colors that are in the sky, because we know that water is going to reflect whatever's behind it. So we want to look at these colors in the sky, try to match that. So right now we've got something around this color here. We're just trying to lay that down in these waves. And then as we get closer, just get some more water on my palette. As we get closer, we want some of these reflections to be a little bigger, stretched out a little bit longer. That's going to create that effect of appearing to be really close. And we also know that we've got some grays up in the sky, and so we're going to want to mix some gray as well. Get a little more black and some more red. I want to just start laying the edges of these reflections of the sky. And the dark parts will be where the waves are rolling towards us. And it's really not reflecting. We're looking into the water at that point. So I'm going around those dark areas and I'm adding hard, you notice these lines have hard edges to them. So I try to keep all those edges really nice and sharp. And what I'll begin to do once I work the bottom here is I'll start to work my way up with this gray. And that kind of matches this color here, and we'll fade a few more of these up to about right here. And then when we get into this tree area, I'll start pulling some of more of these colors and making smaller and smaller ripples of that color further up into the tree line. And then of course the final part is we'll start to bring this area here towards the sun itself, and we'll start adding some of these darker colors and just pull that together and adding some shadows through here to break it up as well. Just to give you an idea of why we're doing what we're doing right now. I'm just mixing some more gray. Add some white to that. Want it to stand out from that dark area. I'm just going to have to go from shadow to shadow. Very slow process. This is where you gotta have patience. Just trust the process. Okay, so I might switch. Let's find a brush here. I've got some old round brushes. Let's see, that one's going to be too old. This one probably work. We're going to start adding smaller riffles further up there. So I've got number 2 round brush. Grab some gray, more white. Okay, I'm going to start just thinking about little details. Bring it up into the shadows. And far up we'll have some these are waves next to the tree line there. Get rid of some of that. You can always just wipe anything we don't like. Kind of fades it out. This is going to take a long time. Normally I'll speed up this part, as I might have said before. Just very repetitive. And it takes a lot of patience. Okay, we'll take some yellow and white. We've got some of that gray still on there, and we're kind of looking for this color in the sky. That's pretty close. Get some water mixed in there as well. Just making up as I go, where might that color in the sky reflect on the water? Trying to maintain those hard edges. You know, we can add, let's get some more orange in the mix of that color, and then grab some black. Okay. So this is a darker orange. Let's just start pulling these shadows into this highlighted area. Start to break that up. Okay, let's jump back up to this area up in here, especially right there around that highlight. We want that highlight to be right in line with that sun. So it's going to be moved over for sure. So let's start with that lighter area. That yellow, and we'll get that pulled over. And then this side, we'll kind of fan it out a bit more. And at some point, we want to break up this highlight. Probably right that cross right there. I'm going to grab some red. Kind of an orange color. Let's test that quick. That's about the right color. Let's put that right below as well. I want that really to match whatever's behind it. I'm just taking this orange all the way around. We've got some more touching up to do right through this area, but it looks a lot better. Let's see here. Let's think about, let's put some white with that orange color and grab some black. I know I'm going to use a lot, so I'm not afraid to get a lot on there as long as I get the right color. I think we want it to be more vibrant. Grab some more color. All right. Pretty close. Go ahead and use that for right now. Okay, I'm going to grab more black and red. We're going to try to get that color of the shadow. Just grabbing more black in that color. That's something on the canvas there. Okay. Now just looking at this, I think I might want it to be more symmetrical, this tree line. Potentially to come out to right there. Kind of like this one does over here. So we just grab some more black. Add it to this color up here. Okay, so I think what we can do, I'm going to try a flat brush quick. I'm going to try to grab some of that color. Get some more orange mixed in there with some white. Let's try to get the color of that shadow back again. Using the flat side of the flat brush. Try to add some small waves. Just keep breaking these areas up. This flat brush just holds some more paint so we can keep going, rather than that round brush kind of loses it quick. So I like this better. Now when we're making these waves, if some of this looks too harsh, too dark, it's the beauty of glazing. We can glaze back over the top in a matter of seconds almost. So you're never stuck with anything. We can always make adjustments, but the point is just get that pattern on there. Even if it sticks out too much, it's not an issue. You can always fix it later, which we'll have to. I'm more focused on the composition of these shadows than how dark they appear. So I just keep going. Now as we start to build these hard edges, it starts to look more like water. We start to add that separation from the sky, the nice smooth sky, and it just creates another dimension maybe. kind of what brings that water to life. You got to think hard edges between the shadows and the highlights. Sometimes you can get away with a small amount of blending in between, but you got to keep it minimal. Just mixing more of that color up. And we probably just add more black to it this time. Let's just keep going lower into the water. Start working on these bigger waves here. You just got to get creative. Just imagining a wave kind of rolling back and forth here. Random reflections. And the cleaner we make this, so the more time we spend on this, you can see how much time this does take. But the more we spend, the cleaner we can get things to look. And water has always got a really clean and crisp appearance to it, especially when it's close in the foreground like this. So we just got to remain patient. So we're just connecting these textures through these kind of just squiggly lines. That's all it is. Just little squiggly lines. It's just little textures that add up to something big. Don't overthink it. Maybe just have one just float on right there. That'll look all right. Put another one right through here. Just tightening up those edges. That's all it is. Being confident about what you want. Don't just smudge it around. Be very deliberate with every reflection. We'll start to fade this darker color up a little bit higher here. And of course, as we get higher into these areas, our shadows become smaller. Okay, now let's go back to the sun quick here before we get ahead of ourselves. Let's look at, I'm just going to take some white. Let's look at this reflection of the sun itself way up here. Really brighten that area. Just putting on some thick white paint. I want to cover a lot of this. Make sure that's nice and thick. then down through here where it starts breaking up, kind of define some of those areas a little more. And just a couple spots of sunlight reflecting way down here. Okay, I'm going to grab some red and some yellow. We're going to stick with the same brush. Some red and some yellow. And let's see. We got about that color right there. So we're going to take that same orange color. We're going to get even more confident with this. We're going to really layer it around the bottom of the sunlight. Make sure that we're in line with our sun. Let's take some yellow and some white. Get some more on this side. Now we can add some of these yellow ripples, these waves off to the side, kind of go into the orange here. That just breaks that up even more. Grab some more white and yellow and just continue to break up some of this transition area. Wash the brush. Now it's getting to be tough because I've got to figure out what becomes too much. What are we really happy with? Seems to get progressively more tedious as we get further into this. There's a shadow here. I thought the shadow was a little too bright. And this one here. They're dry enough now we can just kind of buff over the top of them. Just using a light orange. Alright. I think what we can do is some of these yellow oranges, we could probably get them down into here. There's some areas we need to clean up yet. Now we're going to have some gray through here. Just go ahead and cover that area. You can take some white, some red, and some yellow. Let's mix some orange, kind of that orange in the sky up through this area, and start getting that on the water. So many layers of color that we have to build to make this really look believable, make it look realistic. You just gotta keep going. Don't slow down. Try to keep everything nice and horizontal. Just making little waves. This could be like the shoreline, some waves. Just trying to break up this area even more so. Get some more water in my brush, just keep that same color going, and we can saturate some of these reflections down here with more of this orange. Okay. Now, as a whole, this is looking pretty good. I know that we're going to have to do some work on these trees, and those trees are really simple to do. We're just going to take some black and we're going to take some orange. And what we'll do is we'll just add some texture, some tree branches. And the more we do for these small details, the more realistic it's going to look. We kind of get to the point in the painting where a lot of this is looking fairly well, but adding these final touches is what really brings out the realism, brings things to life. So I'll work on just adding some texture to these trees. And I also may want to work more on the sky. I'm going to take this round blender brush. I'm just going to grab some more white and black, get some gray. I'm just going to get some more gray mixed into this area here, along with this area through here. Just taking more gray. I'm just looking for areas I can kind of dull down. The further we get away from that light source, the grayer I want this sky behind the clouds to appear. So I'll work on things like that. Wash my brush off good and take some white, some more white. Right in the center, we just get some thick white paint. Kind of blend that around. Want that sunlight to be bright. Wow, what's that? We got something right there. We'll get rid of that later. Wash my brush. I'll take some more of that nice thick white paint, maybe a little bit of yellow in that. And we're going to get pretty picky with the clouds as well. The more detail we start adding in all these areas, the more it's going to enhance the painting as a whole. So just got to get really picky. We can add some random highlights just kind of right through the middle. And get some more orange on the brush. Kind of work on some of these subtle highlights down through this area. I think we'll keep going with this yellow. Get back to the water here, just blending around some random areas that could be softened up. Any place we can just touch up, that's what I'm aiming for, just little touch-ups. All comes together to make a nice, magnificent body of water. Okay, so I think what I'm going to do is just get more white paint. We're going to keep working on the highlight here. Again, we want that right underneath the sun. Adding thick white paint. get down into here, let's keep those highlights really bright. Keep them nice crisp edges on them. Just keep adding more down below here. And start to break up into this area. Okay. Now, with these shadows, we can just warm that up a bit. So let's get some orange on the brush, along with some white. Orange and white. Let's just start to kind of glaze this over the shadows around the center of this painting. Just keep it in the middle. Bring it right over the top of these dark shadows. More water. Make sure you got enough red in there or else it's going to turn out kind of yellowish, greenish. Almost kind of greenish when you glaze yellow over black. It's going to look pretty green. So keep that red in there. Nice and orange. Basically just going to buff some of this color over the top. Right in the center. That's just going to enhance our glow even more. You can see how that orange in the middle just makes things glow. I think to enhance our sunlight, this is going to kind of enhance the water as well. Let's just take some yellow and white. It's just a little bit more of a vibrant yellow. Glaze on some yellow right around our white area. And let's just get some more up in our sky as long as we have it on our brush. Right around the sun, just making that yellow brighter, more saturated. So I think as far as our water goes, we can get really picky with it. I'm just sitting back and taking a look here. We can just clean up some of these oranges, make those more defined. But that's pretty much all there is to it. Gets to be super repetitive again. We just have to work on cleaning up any areas we can see. We started with kind of a mess. We kind of blocked in those shadows. Went back to the highlights, back to the sun in the center, back to the shadows again. Now we're working on the highlights again. So I'm not sure how far I'm going to take this. But I think we're getting close. It's starting to look pretty good. All right. So this is going to get even more tedious. And there's not going to be a lot of changes that go on. It's mainly just cleaning this up. So I wanted to give you a little preview of that. And I'm going to work on cleaning up some of these trees. But for the most part, our painting is getting finished. And for those that wanted to see this painting completed and maybe watch the first part of this painting, I'll have to go back and clean up some more around this area I can see. But the sky, I do like the sky. There might be some areas we could still work on. If we take some more black and we'll get some white, some more black and white with a tad of red. We might try to darken a few of these clouds up high, even more so. Put on some dark color right there. You can get a wet brush that has no color. Just kind of fan that out. Like having some darker tones in some of these shaded areas in the clouds. Just work more on the contrast. I think we can keep the contrast going even further. Just kind of makes for more of a dramatic effect. So I'll poke at a few areas just like this. Just adding more texture to everything. So I'll go ahead and I'll speed up the end part of this just so you can see what I do what I end up doing, but we're close to a finished painting. We'll just work on adding some texture into the trees, cleaning up a few more areas, but that is pretty much it. All right, well, I hope this helped you learn a little more about painting water. Now, I could spend an enormous amount of time on this piece, just continuing to refine the edges and the reflection, smoothing out those color transitions. If I wanted to bring it up to the level of realism that you might see in some of my larger paintings, it really just comes down to patience, spending a lot more time on this, just a lot of work involved. But for this purpose today, I think we're going to call it quits. And of course, if you had any questions, please leave them in the comments below. I'll be sure to join the discussion. And if you'd like to support my YouTube channel, remember I give away a free hand-signed art print every week to one of my email subscribers, and all you have to do is click this card right here. And of course, I auction off all my paintings I do here in the videos through my eBay, and that link can be found in the description below, along with a link to my website where you can find other prints and originals. Thanks again so much for watching. Please like and share and subscribe for more great content. Until then, we'll see you on another episode of Paint Like a Pro.